for the racism which apparently was aimed at Meghan Markle, which is just completely absurd. But by far the most sickening part of this show for me was the constant use of Harry's late mother, Princess Diana, to stoke sympathy for Meghan.
What if the biggest warning ever spoken about Meghan Markle was never ignored, but simply dismissed until the evidence became impossible to deny, until every interview, every public appearance, every carefully crafted image, and every headline involving Prince Harry and Meghan Markle began lining up with predictions that once sounded outrageous, reckless, even career-ending to repeat out loud? Because tonight, what began as celebrity gossip is starting to look far more like a slow-motion royal reckoning, and at the center of that storm stands Piers Morgan, the one man who risked everything to say what almost nobody else dared to say. For 5 long years, Piers Morgan has repeated the same uncomfortable message about Meghan Markle, about Prince Harry, and about what was really happening behind the polished interviews, the California photographs, the Netflix cameras, and the carefully controlled public image that surrounded the most controversial couple in the modern British royal family. Most people laughed, others attacked, and some even demanded that Piers Morgan be silenced entirely. But what happens when the warnings begin coming true one by one? And more importantly, what happens when even loyal supporters start asking the same dangerous questions? Because the first crack did not come from palace insiders, leaked documents, or former staff members. The first crack came directly from Meghan Markle herself. Just weeks ago, Meghan Markle sat comfortably in front of cameras, smiling with complete confidence, speaking about her beautiful children, her extraordinary life in California, and the deep love that Meghan Markle claimed to share with Prince Harry, describing Prince Harry almost like a storybook protector, a man who had supposedly rescued Meghan Markle from a life of pressure, scrutiny, and institutional control. Meghan Markle called it the happiest period of her entire life. The most fulfilled, the most peaceful, the most complete. But then something happened. Something that made millions stop scrolling. Something that made Piers Morgan immediately lean forward. Because only weeks later, Meghan Markle posted something that sent the internet into absolute chaos. A message referencing the hardest 7 years of Meghan Markle's life. 7 years. Not 5. Not 10. 7. And when Piers Morgan did what journalists are trained to do, when Piers Morgan simply counted backward, the date landed on a year that changed everything. The year Meghan Markle married Prince Harry. The year Meghan Markle entered the royal family. The year Meghan Markle officially became part of one of the most powerful institutions on earth. So now let me ask you something. How can Meghan Markle describe life with Prince Harry as the happiest chapter ever lived, and then describe that exact same timeline as the hardest 7 years imaginable? Which version of Meghan Markle are viewers supposed to believe? And more importantly, why does every major contradiction seem to appear only after the cameras stop rolling? That question, according to Piers Morgan, is where the real story begins. Because Piers Morgan never claimed that Meghan Markle makes obvious mistakes. Piers Morgan never argued that Meghan Markle lies in simple, easily disproven ways. No. Piers Morgan's argument has always been far more unsettling. Piers Morgan believes Meghan Markle speaks in layers. Every sentence has an escape route. Every emotional statement has plausible deniability. Every public appearance tells 2 stories at the same time. One for supporters and one for skeptics. And once you start seeing that pattern, it becomes impossible to ignore. But while Piers Morgan was dissecting contradictions, something even more fascinating was happening behind closed palace doors. Because according to reports, senior figures inside Buckingham Palace were no longer focused only on Meghan Markle. No. Attention had started shifting toward Prince William, the future king. Toward Catherine, Princess of Wales, the woman many believe represents stability itself. And toward a silent succession strategy that some royal insiders now claim has been quietly accelerating while public attention remained fixed on California. So here's the real question. Was Meghan Markle ever the main story? Or was Meghan Markle simply the distraction while Prince William prepared for something much bigger? If you believe you already know where this story is going, trust me, what comes next changes everything. And before we uncover what palace insiders are allegedly saying about Prince William, King-in-Waiting King Charles III, and the quiet shift of power inside Buckingham Palace, make sure you subscribe, because the next chapter exposes a royal pattern that even longtime observers never saw coming. The question was never simply whether Meghan Markle had become the center of modern royal controversy, because the deeper question, one that palace insiders, veteran commentators, and even longtime supporters of the monarchy have quietly started asking, is whether Meghan Markle's public contradictions were distracting the world from something far bigger, something far more consequential, and something that directly involved Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales, and the increasingly fragile reign of King Charles III. Because while California interviews, lifestyle launches, podcast appearances, and social media headlines involving Meghan Markle and Prince Harry continued dominating global conversations, something remarkably different was unfolding inside Buckingham Palace. Something quieter, something colder, and according to some palace insiders, something far more deliberate than the public was ever supposed to notice. And this is where everything changes. Because multiple royal observers began noticing a pattern that at first seemed harmless, almost accidental, until the pattern repeated itself so many times that ignoring it became impossible. At major state appearances, international ceremonies, diplomatic receptions, charity engagements, and carefully orchestrated moments designed to reinforce the image of the modern monarchy, one pair kept appearing closer to the center of power than anyone expected. And that pair was not King Charles III and Queen Camilla. That pair was Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales. Now ask yourself something honestly. Coincidence or preparation? Because when Prince William began representing the crown at increasingly high-level international engagements, when Catherine, Princess of Wales, continued commanding extraordinary public trust, and when global media coverage repeatedly focused on the future of Prince William rather than the present reign of King Charles III, even longtime royal correspondents began asking whether the transition had already begun. Not officially, not publicly, but strategically. And according to reports from palace insiders, some believe it has. Because insiders claim that while Meghan Markle and Prince Harry continued building a brand thousands of miles away in California, Prince William was doing something far more dangerous to anyone hoping to challenge the future of the monarchy. Prince William was quietly consolidating authority. Not loudly, not dramatically, and certainly not emotionally. Prince William, the Prince of Wales, was doing it the old-fashioned royal way, through presence, consistency, discipline, and above all, patience. But here is where the story becomes impossible to ignore. Because while Prince William was building trust, Meghan Markle was facing a completely different reality. A reality that even some of Meghan Markle's strongest supporters could no longer easily explain. Because what was supposed to be a triumphant lifestyle empire began producing headlines for entirely different reasons. Broken products, confused branding, mixed messaging, and viral moments that did not create admiration, but questions. When Meghan Markle's carefully promoted lifestyle launch began circulating across social media, many expected a billion-dollar rebrand, a polished reinvention, and a triumphant second act for the Duchess of Sussex. After all, this was Meghan Markle, a woman who once commanded global headlines with every public appearance, every interview, every royal appearance beside Prince Harry. But what happened instead? Products reportedly arriving damaged, launches that failed to create sustained momentum, and endorsements that, according to critics, created more awkward headlines than commercial credibility. And once again, one man reacted almost immediately: Piers Morgan. Because Piers Morgan argued that the problem was never simply product quality. Piers Morgan claimed the real issue was identity. And honestly, that raises a difficult question. What exactly is Meghan Markle trying to become? Is Meghan Markle the Duchess of Sussex? Is Meghan Markle the Hollywood entrepreneur? Is Meghan Markle the royal outsider? Is Meghan Markle the global victim? Or is Meghan Markle the celebrity brand trying to monetize every chapter of royal controversy? Because according to Piers Morgan, the audience is no longer confused. The audience is starting to choose. And while Meghan Markle was facing those uncomfortable questions, something equally fascinating was happening on the other side of the Atlantic. Because Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, was beginning to face a very different kind of pressure that had nothing to do with interviews, documentaries, or memoirs. Pressure involving legacy. Pressure involving titles. And pressure involving whether Prince Harry still had a secure place inside the royal family that Prince Harry once walked away from. Now think about that for a second. What happens when Prince Harry leaves the monarchy, attacks the monarchy, profits from stories about the monarchy, and then discovers that the monarchy may no longer need Prince Harry at all? And what happens when the man quietly watching all of this unfold is Prince William, the future king? Because what palace insiders are allegedly saying about Prince William, Prince Harry, and the future of royal titles may be the most explosive development yet. And trust me, what comes next makes everything you thought you knew about this royal conflict look almost insignificant. And that is exactly where the story stopped becoming a media controversy and started looking more like a royal calculation, because as we left off, one question was hanging over everything like a storm cloud that refused to move. What happens when Prince Harry realizes that the institution Prince Harry once walked away from may no longer be waiting for Prince Harry to return? And according to reports coming from royal commentators, former palace staff, and observers who have spent decades studying the inner mechanics of the British royal family, that question is no longer theoretical. Because behind the cameras, beyond the interviews, and far away from California headlines involving Meghan Markle, a far more uncomfortable conversation appears to be unfolding inside Buckingham Palace. A conversation involving titles, legacy, public trust, and perhaps most importantly, succession. And at the center of that conversation stands Prince William, the future king. Now think carefully about this. For years, many believed Prince William and Prince Harry would eventually find a way back to the bond that once defined an entire generation of royal storytelling, a bond shaped by the tragic loss of Princess Diana, by shared military service, by global admiration, and by a public image that once made Prince William and Prince Harry seem almost inseparable. But what if that chapter has already closed? What if the photographs, the silence, the carefully measured public appearances, and the complete absence of spontaneous reconciliation were never temporary, but strategic? Because according to some palace insiders, Prince William's silence may not be emotional at all. Prince William's silence may be institutional, and that changes everything. Because when Prince William appears in public alongside Catherine, Princess of Wales, the image is no longer simply about popularity, family values, or polished public relations. No, what many royal experts now see is something far more deliberate. They see continuity. They see discipline. They see preparation. And most importantly, they see authority. While Meghan Markle and Prince Harry continue navigating podcast launches, streaming projects, speaking engagements, brand partnerships, and the unpredictable economics of celebrity reinvention in California, Prince William appears to be doing something entirely different. Prince William appears to be becoming unavoidable. At climate summits, at military commemorations, at global charity forums, at diplomatic receptions, at moments where cameras are present, yes, but where the real audience is not social media. The real audience is power. And that raises an uncomfortable question. Was Prince Harry ever truly competing with Prince William? Or was Prince Harry unknowingly stepping further and further away from a race that Prince William had already won? Because reports suggest that even within palace circles, there is growing recognition that Prince William, the future king, has entered a completely different phase of royal preparation. A phase that historically happens only when a monarchy begins quietly planning beyond the current reign of King Charles III. Now let that sink in. Not after. During. And if that sounds dramatic, what happened next made the speculation even louder. Because during several recent high-profile royal appearances, observers noticed something subtle but impossible to ignore. Whenever King Charles III appeared, Prince William appeared close. Whenever international leaders visited, Prince William appeared involved. Whenever questions about the future of the monarchy emerged, media attention naturally shifted toward Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales. And after a while, it stopped looking accidental. It started looking like rehearsal. So let me ask you something directly. If Prince William is already being positioned as the face of the future monarchy, where exactly does that leave Prince Harry? Because this is where even longtime supporters of Prince Harry are beginning to ask difficult questions. What happens when Prince Harry's public identity still depends heavily on titles connected to an institution Prince Harry publicly criticized? What happens when Netflix contracts fade, podcast momentum shifts, media cycles move on, and the commercial value of royal controversy begins losing traction? What remains? And according to some commentators, that exact question may now be creating enormous pressure behind closed doors in California. Because reports suggest that finances, branding strategy, public credibility, and long-term positioning are becoming increasingly central to every major decision involving Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Not because failure is guaranteed, but because reinvention becomes harder when audiences start recognizing patterns. And Piers Morgan, once again, has been unusually direct. Piers Morgan argues that the greatest challenge facing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry is no longer criticism from the press, resistance from the palace, or hostility from royal traditionalists. Piers Morgan believes the greatest challenge is audience fatigue. Think about that. Not anger. Not outrage. Fatigue. Because outrage creates clicks. Controversy creates headlines. Conflict creates interviews. But fatigue creates silence. And silence, in the world of celebrity branding, can be fatal. So when Meghan Markle launches a new project, when Prince Harry gives another speech, when a documentary trailer appears, when another carefully controlled interview surfaces, the real question may no longer be, will people react? The real question may be, will people still care? And if that question sounds harsh, what palace insiders are allegedly discussing about Prince Harry's titles could make everything we've covered so far look almost insignificant. Because according to reports, some believe the conversation is no longer about reconciliation. Some believe the conversation is now about permanence. About whether the monarchy, under King Charles III, and eventually under Prince William, the future king, can continue carrying a public relationship with Prince Harry that repeatedly creates institutional tension. And trust me, if those reports are even partially true, the next chapter may be the most explosive part of this entire story. And that brings us to the point we left hanging. Because if the private conversations surrounding Prince Harry were already raising questions about titles, legacy, and whether Prince Harry still had a place inside the modern British royal family, what happened next may have pushed those conversations into territory that even longtime palace watchers never expected to witness during the reign of King Charles III. Because according to royal observers, the conversation is no longer centered only on Prince Harry. The conversation is now centered on consequences. And once consequences enter the story, everything becomes more dangerous. Because while California continued producing headlines involving Meghan Markle, lifestyle branding, public appearances, carefully timed interviews, and strategic media releases, inside Buckingham Palace another reality appeared to be taking shape. A reality built not on emotion, not on public sympathy, and certainly not on media narratives, but on one thing monarchies have always prioritized above everything else: institutional survival. And if there is one person who understands that better than anyone alive inside the monarchy, it may be Prince William, the future king. Now ask yourself something. What would Prince William do if Prince William believed that family loyalty and institutional survival were no longer pointing in the same direction? Would Prince William choose blood? Or would Prince William choose the crown? Because according to multiple royal commentators, that may no longer be a hypothetical question. And the reason has everything to do with public trust. Because while Meghan Markle and Prince Harry built global visibility through interviews, memoirs, documentaries, and emotionally charged storytelling, Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, were building something far less dramatic and far more powerful. Credibility. Not overnight. Not through headlines. And certainly not through controversy. Prince William, the future king, and Catherine, Princess of Wales, built credibility through consistency. Through years of disciplined appearances, through carefully chosen causes, through measured public language, and through an image that, whether critics like it or not, continues to project stability during one of the most unpredictable periods in modern royal history. And that matters. Because monarchies do not survive on popularity alone. Monarchies survive on predictability. And this is exactly where Meghan Markle's public contradictions may have unintentionally changed the internal dynamics of the entire royal family. Because every time Meghan Markle presents one version of the story, then another version, then a more emotional version, then a commercial version, then a personal version, the public starts asking harder questions. And when the public asks harder questions, institutions start protecting themselves. Now think carefully about that. Could Meghan Markle's own public strategy have accelerated Prince William's rise without Prince William ever saying a single word? Because some royal insiders believe exactly that. Some reports suggest that every major controversy involving Meghan Markle and Prince Harry may have quietly strengthened Prince William's position as the inevitable center of the monarchy's future. Not because Prince William attacked Prince Harry, not because Prince William responded publicly, and not because Prince William tried to win media sympathy, but because Prince William simply stayed silent. And silence, in royal politics, can sometimes be louder than any interview ever given. But then something happened that made even veteran royal commentators stop and pay attention. Because at several major public events involving King Charles III, international leaders, and senior members of the monarchy, observers began noticing subtle but unmistakable shifts in physical positioning, media choreography, and diplomatic emphasis. And no, these things are not random. Not inside royal protocol. Not inside Buckingham Palace. Not when cameras from around the world are watching every movement, every handshake, every photograph, and every carefully staged entrance. So when Prince William repeatedly appears closer to the center, when Catherine, Princess of Wales, receives increasingly global coverage, when Prince William becomes the face attached to conversations about climate leadership, diplomacy, military remembrance, and future reform, what exactly are viewers supposed to conclude? Preparation? Transition, or something even bigger? Because according to some commentators, the monarchy may already be doing what corporations, governments, and institutions have done for centuries, preparing for continuity before necessity forces urgency. And if that sounds dramatic, what happened next involving Prince Harry made those whispers even louder. Because reports suggest that private frustrations surrounding Prince Harry may no longer be limited to memoirs, interviews, or public criticism. Some believe the deeper concern now involves unpredictability. And unpredictability, inside institutions built on symbolism, diplomacy, and carefully controlled messaging, is not a small problem. It is a structural threat. So let me ask you directly. If Prince Harry continues operating as both royal insider and public critic, if Meghan Markle continues building a global identity using titles tied to an institution openly criticized in interviews, and if Prince William, the future king, is quietly preparing for decades of institutional leadership, how long can those two realities coexist? Because according to some palace observers, the answer may be, not much longer. And this is where the story becomes genuinely explosive. Because what some insiders are allegedly saying about the future of titles, patronages, royal access, and permanent separation could reshape not only Prince Harry's future, but Meghan Markle's commercial identity as well. And trust me, once we get into what King Charles III may be privately weighing, and what Prince William may already have accepted, everything we have discussed so far begins looking like the warm-up. So before we go further into what some insiders are now calling the monarchy's silent line in the sand, make sure you subscribe right now, because the next chapter may reveal the one royal decision that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle may never be able to reverse. And that brings us to the moment everything we have uncovered begins connecting in ways that even the most experienced royal observers are struggling to ignore. Because if the silence from Prince William has been strategic, if the public contradictions surrounding Meghan Markle have been creating deeper questions, and if the growing distance between Prince William and Prince Harry has become more institutional than emotional, then the final question is no longer whether the modern monarchy is changing. The final question is far more uncomfortable. Has that change already happened, without most of the world even realizing it? Because according to royal commentators, former staff members, and observers who have spent decades studying the survival instincts of the British royal family, the most powerful decisions inside a monarchy are rarely announced with headlines, press conferences, or dramatic declarations. The most powerful decisions are usually revealed through absence, through silence, through invitations that never arrive, through private conversations that never become public, and through one simple truth. When institutions stop reacting, institutions may already have decided. Now think carefully about everything we have uncovered. King Charles III continues carrying the enormous pressure of legacy, diplomacy, public duty, and the impossible task of modernizing one of the oldest institutions on earth. Prince William, the future king, continues appearing closer to the center of power, closer to international leadership, closer to diplomatic influence, and increasingly closer to the kind of visibility normally associated with succession planning. And beside Prince William, Catherine, Princess of Wales continues projecting exactly what monarchies value most during uncertain times: calm, discipline, familiarity, and trust. And then, thousands of miles away in California, another story continues unfolding. A story involving Meghan Markle. A story involving Prince Harry. A story involving media deals, public statements, memoirs, podcasts, branding launches, strategic interviews, and a public identity that, according to critics, still appears tied to the same royal titles that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry once claimed to walk away from. So let me ask you something directly. Can two completely different visions of royalty survive under the same global spotlight? Can Prince William, the future king, represent stability while Prince Harry continues representing disruption? Can Catherine, Princess of Wales, symbolize continuity while Meghan Markle continues building reinvention? And perhaps the most difficult question of all. Can family survive once institution becomes more important than emotion? Because according to some insiders, that may be exactly where this story is now heading. And if that sounds dramatic, consider what has not happened. No major public reconciliation. No visible return to royal duty. No clear commercial reinvention free from controversy. No public sign that Prince William and Prince Harry are moving closer. And perhaps most telling of all, no indication that Buckingham Palace feels any urgency to explain the silence. And silence may be the loudest signal of all. Because if Prince William, the future king, has already accepted that the future of the monarchy requires emotional distance, then what happens when Prince William eventually becomes king? What happens to Prince Harry's titles? What happens to Meghan Markle's commercial identity? What happens to the public relationship between California and Buckingham Palace? And what happens when private family tension becomes permanent constitutional reality? These are no longer tabloid questions. These are succession questions, legacy questions, power questions. And history tells us that when monarchies believe survival is at stake, monarchies do not hesitate. Not publicly, not emotionally, and certainly not permanently. Which brings us back to the one man whose warnings started this entire conversation. Piers Morgan. Love Piers Morgan or disagree with Piers Morgan? One fact has become harder and harder to ignore. Piers Morgan never changed the message. While interviews changed. While headlines changed. While documentaries changed. While branding changed. While public narratives evolved. Piers Morgan stayed in the same position. And now many viewers are beginning to ask whether Piers Morgan saw something years ago that the rest of the world is only beginning to understand. So now I want to ask you, do you believe Prince William, the future king, has already made peace with a permanent distance from Prince Harry? Do you believe Meghan Markle and Prince Harry can still rebuild trust with the royal family? Or do you believe the silent decisions have already been made behind palace doors, and the public simply has not been told yet? Because this story is far from over. The future of Prince William. The future of Catherine, Princess of Wales. The future of King Charles III. The future of Meghan Markle. And the future of Prince Harry may all be moving toward a moment that changes the monarchy forever. If you found this deep dive valuable, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications, and join this growing community where we look beyond headlines, beyond palace statements, and beyond carefully managed public appearances to uncover what may really be happening inside the modern royal family. And before you leave, watch the next video on your screen right now. Because what palace insiders are allegedly saying about Prince William's next move may be even more explosive than everything you've heard tonight.